The quality of life of citizens of the Russian Federation is declining in all respects, economists say. As the Russian economy is undergoing contraction, by autumn it was known to be at least 4% per year. From year to year, perhaps at the end of the year, it will be even worse. Then, of course, a more or less proportional, even more serious answer about the incomes of citizens should not be expected. The sanctions imposed by the West have led to an industrial crisis in Russia. Due to the ban on the supply of high-tech products, equipment and components, a significant part of the usual goods disappeared from the Russian market, and what remains is of the worst quality. Businesses are also closing, leading to rising unemployment.
The real incomes of Russians have decreased from 3 to 5%. Naturally, this is due to the high level of inflation. I want to remind you that somewhere in the summer, inflation was 18%. Now it was possible to reduce it slightly, but it was possible to reduce it by reducing the consumer sentiment of Russians. This is due to the so-called partial mobilization. This is due to the fact that a large number of people went abroad to flee mobilization.
According to a sociological study by the All-Russian Center for the Study of Public Opinion, every third Russian began to save more on food. Another third of the population of the Federation have reduced the cost of hairdressing, beauty salons and cosmetics. While Russians are buying less quality products, instant noodle producers are rejoicing. Their cheap product is at the top. More than 14 packages of noodles were sold for rich residents of the Federation this year. In absolute numbers, that's more than 2 billion pieces. Another pain is imported medicines, or rather an acute shortage of quality drugs due to sanctions. This creates a lot of problems, especially for people with severe forms of diseases.
As far as simple medicines are concerned, most of the so-called generics have been produced in Russia for a long time. But the problem of generics is that they do not completely repeat the formulas, and as a rule, the useful drug in the generic is less than in the original. Well, we do not have a very long life expectancy compared to Europe there, and even more so, not a high level of survival. But since we say such a phrase at every funeral, he or she were terminate. Who is bad for this?
Due to the significant immigration of the middle class, the situation in the real estate market is also deteriorating. Prices even for apartments in the capital fell, demand too. Another component of Russia's quality of life, the ability to travel, has also disappeared. However, even before the imposition of anti-Russian sanctions, not many people were able to go on holidays abroad.
Everything that you have just said does not apply to the Russians from the world at all. Because when we talk about stopping the real estate market, cars or travel, this applies to a very small percentage of the population. According to the most optimistic data, 6 million out of 145 people left the territory of the Russian Federation and had international passports, which, as you understand, is simply not a significant percentage, and no more than 3 million left. And then, this is the total entry-exit. Most of our fellow citizens live below the poverty line.
For the majority of Russians, and these are people living in the Russian outback, the quality of life has remained at the same level. After all, they live in an economic crisis for years. The only thing that made adjustments to their lives was the partial mobilization announced by Putin in September.
There are cases when the death of the mobilized is one of the most important sources of income for the family.
Due to the declining quality of life and total lack of freedom in the country, more and more young people in Russia need the help of psychologists. Those who do not have the money to consult a specialist are much more likely to watch videos on psychology or try to help themselves with the help of special literature. Between the ages of 18 and 24, people in need of psychological help increased by a third. Among those who are from 25 to 34, a quarter, sociologists of the All-Russian Center for the Study of Public Opinion say. It is quite expected that alcohol consumption in Russia has increased. The production of strong alcohol is growing in the country. This year, alcoholic beverages were produced by 64% more than last year. Reported by Dana Kolesnik, Yulia Granovska, UATV News.